episode of Geekin Out. There's Julian getting his stuff together. So, hey, thank you for joining us tonight in our episode of Power Rangers. And not just any Power Rangers, the OG, the original, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the only one that matters.
Yes.
So, thank you for joining us on Geeking Out. So, make sure you like, subscribe, click the buttons, find us on all the things, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. If you follow me on Twitter, you can probably watch this episode right now. If you're following us on YouTube, subscribe, push the little bell button, and you'll get the alerts for whenever we pop up. Every single episode, and we're going to go live again. Follow us on Twitch. So I have a Twitch account, so Ricky Z, RICKEYZ_, as well as the Woe Nelly Media Twitch account, which you can find us on there. And we also tend to replay the episode on the Day Gamer, which was our original Twitch account. So you can watch this as many times as you want. Okay. It's okay. All right. So I'll start off with me. I'm the host for tonight, Ricky Z, social media podcast manager, Buffy fan, TVD fanatic. Even though I know that if Tamam was here, he'd want to talk about it. But their spinoff legacies, amongst other things, on the CW has been canceled. What they're calling it, the Blood Wedding, Red Wedding, the Red Wedding of CW, because they were canceling everything.
Yo, does that mean they're going under? Do you think that's it? This is it for the CW?
No, they still have a lineup though. They still got like a small lineup for the fall. But I don't think anything.
Do they though? Because everything of interest has been canceled. Canceled. And then anything that was of interest that was progressive in nature, or anything even though that whole new Batgirl thing where it was important because she was black and she was lesbian. All of those things are getting canceled. So it's representation matters my ass when it comes to the CW. Sorry, y'all. I cursed.
You didn't say that. CW has always been constantly white. Consistently white. Okay.
Yes, since the UPN era when they had the amazing black lineup, girlfriends, one-on-one, everything, and then when it turned into the CW, they kept girlfriends for a season, and then was yep, y'all gotta go too. So,
which is funny because the parent company CW, the UPN and WB used to both have real good black television, Jamie Foxx show, Steve Harvey, the Wayans brothers. The Wayans brothers is still a pretty funny show. And then, of course, you had the things that were on the UPN. And, of course, you know how Fox Network did. They start off with some really solid black programming. They get some numbers in, some money, some ratings. And the next thing you know, they cut them.
Yeah.
They disappear. So, well... And plus, the CW wasn't making no money. It hasn't been making money at all. So that's on them.
Yeah.
That's on them.
I was I don't watch anything that CW produces anymore. Nothing of their current lineup.
Well, CW doesn't really produce anything. It's either Warner Brothers or CBS or Paramount.
Yep.
Yeah, we got. So off topic. I'm sorry. So Ricky Z, Julian.
Yeah.
You can find Julian on Twitter.
Introduce everybody. Okay.
Yeah, we really did. Look, the CW always gets me heated. I can't help it.
That's a conversation. That's a conversation on its own, Ricky. That's a whole other episode.
Yes. So you can find Julian on Twitch at double D's Juju, and then only has the double D's on Instagram. Just the D's.
Yeah, just the D's, no B's. no second pair. Sorry, guys.
Julian is he's our mage. He is our Wheel of Time fanatic since the very beginning. Artiste, cosplayer, love him. And then we have two guests. If you guys noticed that we were missing Jermaine and Tamon. Tamon had a previous engagement, so he pulled in his friend Steven. Hey, Steven.
What's going on, guys? I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! Thank you for joining us. So Steven is so we'll say you're the friend of the show. Friend of Timon. You're originally from Louisiana, but you live in Nashville now.
Ooh.
Yes, eight wonderful years. Met the love of my life here. Got married.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. And what can I say? This is home now. So I mean, hey.
Oh, I love it.
Hey. How do you like the transition? Can I ask really fast?
And then our next guest is DJ. I love DJ. So,
No. Go.
What? What'd you say, Julian?
Nothing. No, nothing.
Okay, all right. So I was introducing DJ. So Dewan Rivers, also known as DJ. So DJ is one of the co-hosts on one of the shows that I produce, No Clue. He's our system and process. He's the one that, brings the facts and the receipts.
Gotta.
Every time without fail. Okay? He's working on his doctorate right now. So he's going to be Dr. DJ soon. So
big ups. Come on, Dr. DJ.
Yes, and so what's funny is that I have occasionally played a couple of Geeking Out commercials on No Clue, and DJ's like, I need to be on the show. I was like, okay, cool, we got to do that. And so it was time to talk about Power Rangers, and he's a big Power Rangers fan. So
yeah,
hello.
I am.
We love to see it.
Power Rangers fan, wine enthusiast.
Yes.
Yes, even better.
And then we also, in our lovely wig wearing Jermaine, it's our man Jermaine. Which Power Ranger are you supposed to be today? Yellow?
Gotta live that wig life.
Yes.
Right, so no, I'm a Yellow Ranger.
Jack of all fandoms, and he will tell you about every single fandom. I promise you. He knows. He knows a little bit about every fandom.
He's our receipts man. He's our receipts guy. He knows all the facts and all the deep knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. And so this is our panel for tonight. So welcome.
I've been burning for this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
He was like, am I leading this episode? And I was like, no, this is Ricky's. He's like, are you sure? I was like, oh, I know you're excited.
So, all right. So here's the thing. We always do a drinking game, and tonight it's, watch out for it, it's Morphin Time. So normally when we do a drinking game, it is something that would normally come up in conversation and whatever we're talking about. I'm just gonna say it's Morphin Time.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take a sip?
That means I gotta go.
I mean, okay, the whole phrase, not just the word morph.
No. It's Morphin Time. I'm just randomly saying in the conversation, so you better get ready.
Who are we morphing into, guys?
Okay, I've already said it like 3 times now.
I know I'm going. I gotta shake.
You gotta shake it up, Julie.
Like it's a shake. Mine's a whole cocktail.
Like you got sediments down at the bottom or something?
Yeah, okay, so I'm super bougie today. So I was saying this before, but not on air, guys. But
I mean, well, don't feel bad. I'm joining you. I'm drinking wine through a straw.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is partially wine. It's a sangria.
Hey, yes.
No, I'm drinking a rosé prosecco.
Ooh.
What's that called?
So this one was the cheap one. It's cupcake, but it's still a rosé prosecco.
I go to world one of these days.
I love cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm drinking. It's the Svedka vodka with ginger and lime. Yeah. It's a ginger and lime infused vodka with a Sprite and my teacher appreciation gift that says "Teaching is a walk in the park" with a Jurassic Park label on it.
And it's like a mule. A ginger ale, throw some lime in that bitch.
Yeah, and I am drinking a infused lemon vodka with a splash of Red Bull.
Okay. That sounds good, actually.
Got a little kick to it.
It's Morphin Time, okay.
It's Morphin Time. Don't worry.
I told you. Okay, so if you can see,
used to be. I know they've changed their formula. Like they used to be super intense.
But yes.
Not so much.
All right. So if you can see, we are. Oh, hey, Billy Berserker. So.
Yo, Billy.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So Billy is also a friend of our show on No Clue.
He
so,
is.
Yes.
Hi, Billy.
So he goes back and forth with us. All right. So you can't see it on my shirt because it's dark in here, but I'm wearing blue. Julian's wearing red. Jermaine's wearing yellow. DJ's wearing black, and Steven is wearing white. And we're just missing pink.
Well, it's fine.
I mean, technically, I'm Rainbow Ranger, but you know.
Yeah, we got Rainbow Ranger.
And that's okay. All right, so first question.
I mean, she's on my shirt, so does that count?
You're right.
Oh, yeah, there she goes.
There. She's there. That's okay. All right, so first question I want to ask y'all is, all right, so when you played Power Rangers as a kid, who did you play? And if you were to play them now, who would you play now?
Ooh, hard one.
Yes. So I'm gonna
Not hard.
Not hard at all.
Okay, I'll go first, right?
Yeah.
So, sidebar, they stole all of the ideas that me and my friends would come up with as kids. So, like, you know, I'm all about Team MMPR, so I'm all about the original 5 and then turn it into 6. Yeah. So then when they started doing Silver Rangers, Gold Rangers, all those things, me and my friends did that first. They stole it from us. Seriously, they really did. But when I would play, I would always be the Red Ranger, right? Because I wanted to be the leader.
Right.
And I wanted everybody to follow my lead. Now, though, I really think I would be Green Ranger, though, now.
Okay.
But I would be Green Ranger, Rita Repulsa Green Ranger, not good guy Green Ranger.
Yes. We will have to talk about why he's the superior ranger in that era.
Okay.
We will have to have that conversation.
I just watched the newer one just before this, just because I was like, oh, let me just get like a quick little brush up. Let me watch the new one, just cause. I'm not gonna. Okay, that one has its mixed things, but Elizabeth Banks.
Oh, no doubt.
I loved her Rita.
Yes, her Rita was very iconic. It was a great fresh of air for her.
It was a fresh one.
It was.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to talk about that. What?
Come back.
Right.
Come back, Trini.
Well, I don't know, because, that Bob is really giving me cat vibes and not necessarily Trini.
Oh, yeah.
Connection?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I would say for me, answering that question, it won't change. As you can see what my background is, I am a huge Jason David Frank fan. I have been in love with Tommy since he was the Green Ranger. Sidebar, he was my first crush. So to see him then and to see him now, it wouldn't change because now he has the Master Morpher and he can morph into any of his iconic roles. So, I mean, he will forever be the OG, the number one for me.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about Tommy? So,
what?
I've heard rumors that 4 of the 5 original Rangers are coming back next year for the 30th anniversary series. But not Tommy. Of all the Rangers that always come back, Tommy, he never misses a chance to come back to play Tommy.
He's been cashing that check.
He has been cashing checks though. And
he has.
Even in web series.
I mean, he's the face. Maybe. I mean, let's be honest. He is the face of the franchise. So, and
most consistent face, yeah.
Yeah. So for him to return for yet another season, I think finally the fans are like, okay, let's give some other, former Rangers some shine time. So I think that's why he finally said, okay, I'm gonna take a seat back and let some other people come back and see what they give.
I don't think it's necessary though. I think
he might pop up though. He may pop up. He low-key might pop up.
He's the most expensive of them because he's been the most around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps
Yeah.
that's why.
But I mean,
okay, we can buy all the other 5. Sorry, we can't.
All right, so Julian, who did you play? Who would you play now?
Okay, who did I play? Who would I play? Okay, so I was definitely the Black Ranger because he was the brown one, and I was like, identified right off the bat. So I was like, okay, that one.
As brown as you can get.
But definitely now Blue Ranger, and I feel like I loved the Blue Ranger as a kid as well. Maybe not as much as the Black, but the Blue was like my second best, But the Blue Ranger now for sure. 100%.
I can see you as a Billy.
Billy is everything. Billy and
well, I don't know because the film Blue Ranger was pretty dope, and he was Black, which was surprising.
Right, I enjoyed that Billy too.
I did.
He was the best actor, I thought.
And to have
I agree.
And to have him on the
that
spectrum,
Billy, and I enjoyed
was awesome
the way that Billy. I enjoyed the way they add a little nuance and just kind of in a way that wasn't like completely offensive with talking about that Billy and his like him being neurodivergent and being having on the spectrum. So like it was just, and it wasn't like a caricature. It was just like, it was still very remnant of the original Billy, but just a slight more obvious spin of he could be coded ASD.
Yes.
All right, Jermaine, you got that look on your face.
Okay. So
he doesn't agree.
As kids, I was either one of two things. I was either Blue Ranger or I was the Monsters. Never anything else.
I think some anti-blackness in there, okay?
Right.
Anybody else wanted to like? One of my friends was always the Black Ranger. The other one was always the Red Ranger, and I was a Blue Ranger because I was a smart one. If I wasn't playing the Monsters, so whatever.
Oh, it's Morphin Time. Okay,
but I was gonna Mighty Morphin now. I think I'd still be blue. Oh.
Yes, Goldar.
Come on,
because
Goldar.
No other color really fits.
I thought they could have done a better Goldar in the new installment.
Oh my god!
My go-to is King Sphinx. Thank you.
King Sphinx was he was a very character. He was one of the most iconic.
Is so dope. He was like the best rival to my Red Ranger.
He was. He gave Jason that business for a little bit. When they first fight, he gave Jason that business.
And then never again after that, though.
And then never again.
It was very Team Rocket.
All the time.
Yes.
And then when you even think about like action figures and toys and collectibles, King Sphinx is always in the forefront of like any of the monsters that you can easily find.
Absolutely.
Always. So much so that you think that he was there all the time, like Squat and Babu, but he was only in one episode.
But he was only in one episode.
Oh, Squat and
Babu.
Babu.
Forget that Squat and Babu were there.
Yes.
I mean, they were Bulk and Skull before Bulk and Skull became Bulk and Skull.
Exactly. I would totally agree with that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So for me, usually as a young Black girl in predominantly white spaces, I would always have to play the Yellow Ranger when I would often want to play the Pink Ranger. But as an adult, I appreciate.
That's rude.
I know. I appreciate the fact that Trini was very much level-headed, very wise for a teenager. And she was actually pretty dope. Like it was like all those things, all those cool things, all of the
because of Aisha, the true Yellow Ranger.
Right. So and then you have
that
Aisha,
part.
Aisha up next, and like there's like the Yellow Rangers during those couple seasons were legit, and like they were level-headed, they were cool, they were smart, like the things you want to be now.
But not Tanya. Tanya was so emotional all the time.
She was very emotional all the time.
Tanya was on my nerves.
when they did the transition, I was not happy because
I
I
wasn't either.
loved Aisha.
Was
Like
But
I
I was-
was an Aisha fan.
But I was happy they kept her a black
Thank
girl.
you.
Yeah. Wasn't Tanya more into the Turbo era?
I mean,
She transitions into that piece, but they introduce her series wide towards that end of that Aisha Rocky Adam era.
Right.
Aisha, Tanya got her start with the Zio era.
Yeah.
Because she was Zero Ranger Yellow, and only because of that fiasco that they had to write into the show with Billy not being able to get the powers or whatever. But she came in Zio and she transitioned into Turbo and she exited out on Turbo.
Okay. All right. So that was our opening segment of our show.
Tanya,
so we're gonna take
to stop watching.
We're gonna take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be back. So, come back. All right, here we go. Quick commercial break.
The setup is.
Oh, you're on Instagram Live?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was so much quicker than I was expecting.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a little okay. So Julian's on IG Live. I'm actually on TikTok Live right now, doing the show. So, for those that are watching, that was a quick commercial for Black Girls Hyper Focus, which is a new show that I'm doing with my friend Tara G. Noir on Wednesdays, where us, early 30-something Black women who were late in life diagnosed with ADHD talk about all the things that we hyper focus on throughout life and fun stuff like that. So that premieres on Wednesday on Twitch.
We love it. Empowerment.
Yeah. We've had to go through the hassle of figuring out how to get two people to stream on Twitch together. Like, it's not as simple as you thought. It's like lots of work around to do.
Because there's too many people who live isolated and things like that. So this really that helps give them a platform to open up and things. We love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so we're excited. All right, so let's just do a quick. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Billy. All right, so quick thing. All right, so we have quick origin story of Power Rangers. So, Power Rangers, as we know them, are Jermaine. That face, Jermaine. Jermaine, that face. You just look super excited. I don't know what for.
He is juiced. He's so excited.
All right, so the Power Rangers, as we know, them are based off of a Japanese series called the Super Sentai.
Super Sentai.
So, the ones that we start off with Mighty Morphin are based off a later series of the Super Sentai, way later. I think the 16th
Zoo Ranger.
Iteration of it.
It's Mighty Morphin Time.
16th season.
Yeah, the 16th season of the Super Sentai. I think what's it called? My Japanese is horrible. I'm sorry, y'all. Kyoru Sentai Zero Ranger.
Yeah, Zero Ranger.
Kyoru Sentai Zero Ranger.
Zero Ranger. Yeah.
Zero Ranger or something.
Yeah. So the Power Rangers.
Hey, Erin.
What? Who? Oh, hey, cool.
Come on, Cogby Ranger.
So it's crazy thing. The Rangers that we know now are literally way later from the Super Sentai. But of course when we go to America, when it comes to America, we have to kind of take things and claim them and
well, yes and no though, right?
Well,
because
actually we were usually 1 year behind them.
Yeah.
So they would take the footage, the action footage from the Japanese show,
right,
and intersperse American actors to give it its story.
Yeah. So yes, and yes, but yes, I told you my Japanese is horrible.
It was actually pitched that way by Stan Lee 10 years before for
Spider-Man.
What show was that? Sun Vulcan. It was Sun Vulcan. He had watched it. He loved it. He wanted to bring it over to America. He pitched it that way. He's like, either we can dub it or we can like shoot the out of suit scenes with American actors and then use the Japanese footage for the action scenes. And nobody in television wanted to touch it. And they were like, no, that sounds dumb. American kids aren't going to go for that. Woo, woo, woo. But there was like one girl that was like, there was one person that was like, yeah, I think I can probably run with that. But nobody wanted to listen to her or him. So they just dropped it. And then like 10 years later, Haim Saban was like, I want to do that same thing. And he pitched it around everywhere. And by that time, the same girl that was the only one that was Stan Lee, by then she had risen to become like the it girl controller of Fox Kids.
Yep.
And she was like, yes, this sounds familiar.
Let's
put it on.
Right.
But I also want us to not forget, right, that the Rangers that we know, especially in true like legacy MMPR, are more similar to Voltron, right? So they are people, they have personalities, they have all of these kind of things, and then they fit into these zones or these images of what, except for Voltron, unfortunately, they all were lions. But, the personality of them fits into the color of their alleged, particular Zord counterpart.
Yeah.
Because a little known fact, and this actually goes back to what we were originally talking to about, Billy and Trini. Trini was just as smart as Billy was. But they never gave her the time to truly shine and show her true intelligence. I know it was one episode where she got to show out, and that was the one where I want to say Kimberly and Billy switched, kind of styles. And she was the one who actually put the machine together to switch them back with Billy's assistance.
Yeah.
So like Trini was that girl too, but they never really gave her that time to shine.
Yeah.
And if they did,
I never
it
remember
would have been everything
from Trini other than the Pudgy Pig episode.
She like the thing is like her and Billy, you would see her and Billy together a lot in the scenes because they were the smart ones. There was like Billy was the nerd, but Trini was pretty smart too. Like she was, which kind of plays into the whole like the Asian stereotype about
to stand in the background and be seen and be needed when you're needed to.
Yeah.
But but all of those things were based off of the stereotypes, right? Zach was all cool and popular, and of course what did he do? He hip-hop band. So it was a lot of really real stereotypical things. The person who was actually Native American was the Red Ranger. So there are all of these other typical things that just kind of fell into that thing.
Exactly. All right. So when we our series starts in 1993, right? All right. So 1993, Mighty Morphins, the Mighty Morphin era runs for about 3 seasons before we start getting into the other iterations of it. The all the variations of it, where like Tommy was in at least like 5 of them. So
he was a cheerleader.
I mean, I don't know, but like, so we have the big thing was like you're having these teenagers with attitude to help save the world because Rita Repulsa has escaped her prison.
After 10,000 years, I'm free.
Right.
The nearest planet. Yes. And see, little known fact about that, she does not say it's time to conquer Earth. What she says is, I'm going to conquer the first planet I see, which was Earth. Because she was on the moon. Yeah. And everybody says, no, that's what she says. I was like, go watch the first episode. She does not say that. And everybody was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm into these things.
Yes, Kim wasn't a cheerleader.
She was not a cheerleader. She was gymnastics. She was always gymnastics.
Yeah, she was a gymnast. And so that was kind of the thing when they casted the original cast. So like they were all very versed and very particular like athletic. So at least 3 of them were in martial arts. Billy, the actor who played Billy, and the actress who played Kimberly were both gymnasts. And then our actor that played Zach was a dancer, which you see a lot throughout the series. And And so that was like the big thing. No, that's not the same, Tamon.
I mean, but if you think about like
Nice
the
try.
whole grand scheme, right, of that high school dynamic that they tried to portray, it would kind of be similar, right? Because like even when you think about like to cross reference, but even like in the Bring It On movies, right? The cheerleaders are still gymnasts in some capacity. But if you think about the high school hierarchy and how it played out in MMPR, she would have been considered a cheerleader, right? She was popular, she was lovable, she had the hunk that everybody wanted. It's still that kind of hierarchical high school standard.
Yeah, she still fit the archetype of the cheerleader.
She definitely was the Valley girl. She was a Valley girl.
But she had her moment too, where she got to show that she was more than just a dumb brunette because she wasn't blonde.
Right.
But, you know, she got those moments.
And I would say the all-time moment for Kimberly that stood out to me is the episode with her and Tommy, when she had to shoot the dagger, when she had to shoot the arrow in the monster's mouth, and she could not get it until he gave her that pep talk, and I can do it, and she did it.
And then let's even talk about that, like
run, Barry, run.
And I mean, that was even a whole thing, right? When you think about that being a whole thing, like, why was her weapon the power buff? Right? You know, and as a female, why do you have this long range projectile weapon, but the men have more close aesthetic, you know, more in type, you know, knee deep kind of things, with the exception of Trini, which ironically, she has the daggers, which is super close. If you think about it through a combative standpoint,
right? It's more but she's also like kind of rogue archetype at that point,
yeah.
Which is, you know, like I'm not quite
the original
like in
the Yellow Ranger was a boy.
Yeah, and I was just Jermaine. I was literally going to actually say that in the Super Sentai, the Yellow Ranger was actually a guy.
A boy. Yeah.
So you know that's why I kind of fit that dynamic of the Pink Ranger being the most girliest with the skirt and all that, and you know it was very interesting to see that. And you know, big shout outs to Amy Jo Johnson, who is still looking fabulous to this.
Amy Johnson has been typecasted though. She's been typecasted for a good bit.
I mean, and she does kind of play those still, you know, superhero officer, you know, kind of thing, kind of roles. But I mean, she is actually one of the only original cast members outside of JDF to be featured. Like, you see her. Right. I mean, Walter is doing a great job of coming back into the forefront too. But I mean, those are like, yo, boom, boom, boom.
Like, she's the main one that, like, between her, Tommy, and the actor who plays Jason, like, they're the ones that get like those little features in the movies and all that stuff. You'll see them mostly then.
They get the most buzz. Because their characters were the most sought after out of everybody, which is sort of shady since they're the three white ones, but you know, whatever.
But is it shady or is it Hollywood?
It's Hollywood. That's exactly. It has to be Hollywood.
Also and as well.
It's a little bit of both, because the fans are the ones that chose to go after Jason and Power Rangers version of Vegeta.
Yeah, but I mean, but when you think about it, like, as somebody who really is like diehard Red Ranger till I die, right? The way that they framed it, you root for him. You want to be him. You want to be the person that is in the forefront and taking the lead and making the change and calling the shots and making the decisions and still comes out on top. You know, like, you want to do that. You want to see those things. And so that's why, you know, when you think about it, and even how it was just in that same character, that even that transition then turns to Tommy, as we see him transition from Green Ranger to White Ranger and then to Zeo Red and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? You see those same kind of character traits that you want in yourself, or that you want for other people, that makes you root for them.
Because that goes into one of the reasons why to this day I still love Jason David Frank the way I do, because if you ever meet him, he is that, because I follow him on TikTok, I follow him on everything. I legitimately love this man. But if you like go like listen to him talk, like, he's very, very positive. Like he's a super outspoken person. He stands up, like he is an ally, for the LGBTQ, and it's just so awesome to see after all these years, this man is still, like we said, getting that bag off of a show that was so long ago, and he took it and he ran with it.
He running.
But it's not that he just ran with it.
But live off of
what was that?
The nostalgia of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And now that all of it's on Netflix,
but not even just that. Like if you think about even going back to the piece about the origin story earlier, the true origin stories through graphic novels is much darker. And so seeing those web pages and those web series that actually do show those truer context of what the MMPR multiverse is so dope. And those are the things that we really start to see JDF really forefronting and highlighting and headlining, so that he combines both of those worlds into the same multiverse.
Ooh, I love it. It's Morphin Time.
Yes, it is.
So, since we're talking about Mighty Morphin and the true, like, those side projects, because Jason David Frank has one going and David Yost has one going, and I think Walter Jones has something planned. But also, Hasbro has a Netflix series coming out next year, which is supposed to be a reboot of sorts. Or, not next year. Next year is a 30th anniversary series, but the year after, they've got the reboot series coming.
It's gonna be live action, obviously.
So it feels like they're gonna end all stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be live action, but it's going to be different from we're starting everything over. And I'm not sure if they're going to try to go grittier and darker, which they always try to do, but it won't feel right. It'll be like
I think the 2017 movie was heading in that direction.
Yeah, it was.
And I can appreciate
they tried to do that with the 2017 movie.
They did try to do it with the film, but I also think that we're also noticing that the real fan base of MMPR, we grew up with them. So we're all in our 20s and 30s and 40s, right? And so you have to create content now at this point that keeps us engaged, because we know what the foundations are. We saw it, we lived it, we've been through that.
Right.
So you have to create content that is more relevant to our experiences, but also those of us that are true fans, we know the bubblegum and pop that we saw on TV and we fell in love with, that give us that nostalgic feeling, it's not what the series is. It's not what it's really based off of in its foundation. So if we're going to truly do that, we can do that. And we're moving in an era now where we live in a world where we're tired of the bubblegum pop fantasies of what
it
things
can't be
are.
anymore.
It has to be something different.
Give me that gritty. And I mean that, and see, that's what ultimately really kind of pissed me off about the 2017 series, that it didn't go as bigger. I mean, it had a lot of issues, but at the root core, it was more gritty. One of your characters dies.
Right.
And that is something that Power Rangers has never really touched on. Right. And in the movie, they went there. So it was like a shock to me. And the storyline was so good, people just couldn't see past all the other flaws.
It
did take a while to pick up.
But I was
it had a lot of flaws. To really build the story better.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit later, because I want to make sure we kind of get back to talking about okay, so we have the Rita breaks out of her prison. Zordon is alpha, find me 5 teenagers with attitude, and then we have Billy, Trini, Kimberly.
And can we talk about that? That was very abductive.
It was.
Right?
It was.
There was no consent. There was no free will. There was no conversation. It was just kind of we're going to steal you, and
we're
now
gonna snatch you
up.
Why
we took you.
Right.
Right. And we're making you superheroes, and you're going to be okay with it. Right.
Absolutely. And
little sketch man.
Were they all friends in the beginning?
No. In the beginning, they were not friends.
They were acquaintances.
like they knew of each other. Like
they all used to hang out at the same place.
Yeah,
that's what I appreciate. But that's what I appreciated about the 2017 film. Again, being very true to what happened in that film. You know, they kind of knew of each other, but they didn't become friends.
But they were not friends.
That was really what it was. They weren't friends in the beginning.
Yeah, because I want to originally say,
I mean, that's how a good team up always starts. The Avengers, the Sailor Scouts, anybody, any team that's just like random people that come together to fight together.
Yeah, but I guess the difference with the Sailor Scouts though is, in that respect, their spirits never changed. So they were essentially the same people. They were essentially the same team, just kind of constantly being rebirthed and remanifested through all of these different experiences, right? Whereas in this multiverse, it was like, you, come with me.
Right. Like I said, again, we're going to make you a superhero, and you're going to be okay with it. And there's nothing else you can do.
Right. And so they're having to deal with these... Rita, she's a witch. She's technically a witch. And trying to take over Earth, but she's focusing so much on Angel Grove. And sending out these monsters to destroy Angel Grove, starting with her putty guys and like the monsters that are made out of clay. They go through the machine, and then they're sent to Earth, and then they're eventually like defeated. And that's the formula for every episode.
And can we just discuss? And let's just be honest. How warped and mind twisted was Finster that he created some of these crazy monsters? Nobody ever really took. And I love how the comic book touched on it, and they went into Finster's backstory because Jesus, Finster was twisted.
He was.
He should have been the actual villain of the show. Yeah. He really, because he was twisted. And I was
he kind of was the mastermind as far as like creating these monsters out of clay and just.
He's very Igor, I feel like.
He was
her Frankenstein in a
way. He was a very Igor to her.
Like she'd animate them and bring them to life, but he very,
And it was just like, and to see how, like how Finster found, and how Rita and Finster found each other, and how he was, making the clay sculptures of his family, and he would destroy it because his wife was not. It's a very twist. If you don't know, please go watch the comic because it's crazy.
Think this goes back to our point though about the true dark origins of what we love, and how people don't really realize it is really dark and twisted in this multiverse.
It's very dark and twisted.
Yeah, and I think actually the point
that you made before about that's also
knowing the backstory now, like we don't the kid version doesn't fly with us anymore. You know what I mean? We
don't need the camp anymore.
That deep stuff that we now know because we grew up. We got hooked on it because of that kiddie stuff in the first place.
And I think too, it's the dark stuff that really shows the flaws in our human experience, and that's what draws us to people, right? And I think that's part of what made us fall in love with MMPR too, right? Is that when they made the mistake, we got to see the human side of them. We got to see things that were you kind of like, okay, I can relate to that. I could do that. That could be me. I could have done that same thing. And it makes them relatable. And that's what you fall in love with instead of, like I said, this pitch perfect cookie cutter version of like what we know the formula is for a superhero, right? You go into this thing, you got to fight, you get a couple of hits, but you come out on top. Yeah. Well, there's nothing there to make me be like, okay, yeah, sure, like I love you and I want to fall for you. But when I see that you're trying or you're defeated and you have to come back, those are things I can actually relate to.
Mm-hmm. What are you about to say, Jermaine?
Well, that's mostly due to American writing, because if you ever watch the original like Zoo Ranger, like it's for kids too. It's targeted at the same age demographic that Power Rangers was, like ages 5 to 11. But the way they carry it out is so much more different. The reason why Rita is attacking specifically Angel Grove, but like she's really going after the whole world, is because way back in like prehistoric times when she was just a regular witch, like something happened and the people did not save her son, so her son died because of them. So then she swore vengeance on humanity, and they were like, nah, 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 and they sealed her up. And then when she got released, she was like, okay, I'm getting revenge on humanity for one, having my son killed, and two, for stealing me for 10,000 friggin' billion years. So I'm going to cause the extinction of humanity. And to do that, first, I'm going to target their kids. And that's why, like, because how you make humanity go extinct? You kill all the kids first, and then go after the adults.
Right.
So, but then is she such a villain though? Like, her wrong, right? No one has ever said sorry. No, you know what I mean? If somebody suspended an olive branch of some sort,
I mean, but that's the whole point, right? And I think we villainize the female experience in a lot of things, but you know, what mom wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
Right. And you think about that logistically, like what mom would not want to make sure that their kids were protected?
Going back to Wanda.
And the people who didn't do that.
Well, I mean,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Later on, her son comes back to life, and he is the worst. So
yeah. He was a little shit.
He was terrible.
He was a little shit, and I mean, I hate to say it, but he kind of got what he deserved. But I mean, you know,
yes, he did. But my point is still the same.
But that's like that's a Cersei and Joffrey thing. This is a Cersei and Joffrey thing.
So my point is still the same, though. Would you have really done
quality for Joffrey?
We're happy that man died. Oh God, that was everyone's favorite death. I think was Joffrey.
That's what I'm saying. So like, you know, keep an eye on time though. So you know, we have this fairly formulaic style of episodes, and you know that's kind of what it is, especially for kids television, which is fine. Like, you know, we still watched it like religiously, and that's okay.
Still watch it now. What do you mean?
Right,
okay,
I
me
now.
Right now,
Dino Fury.
Look, okay. So the one thing I want to talk about is because eventually we get through season 1. Season 2, we are introduced to Lord Zedd.
Oh my God.
So Rita Repulsa versus Lord Zedd, or you could say Rita by herself, Lord Zedd by herself, versus
them
Rita
together.
And Lord Zedd together.
But can I say that was a whole thing about the whole patriarchy of Western society, right? Because the man had to come in and save the day because she couldn't do it on her own.
But he wasn't
despite the fact that he messed up way more times than she did, because
way more times.
He had way more camera time with Lord Zedd, and he had way more opportunities to do things. And then he even got to expand it to one place where he had what is it, Serpentina with the dragon. Serpentera, yeah. So he gets a whole extension of backstory that she never got.
But you also have to remember and realize too, the reason why I went into that route was because Lord Zedd was a American-based villain. There was no Lord Zedd in the Super Sentai. So that's why they had to expound with his story so much, and why when we got to the Rita and Lord Zedd era, when they were quote unquote married, they had to use this whole, she took this potion and made her beautiful, but that was a completely different actress. Right. So for me, I've always been a Lord Zedd stan, and I will forever be a Lord Zedd stan, because that first episode, when he came in, he shut shit down. Like,
he did.
Everybody, like, they were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is the world coming to? And Lord, he just had this true villainous about him. Like, yeah, Rita was scary, but Lord, bro, you ain't had no flesh.
But I mean, that's my point, though, right? But that was also my point, though, right? That she was more humanistic in appearance. She was more humanistic in approach. And you think about the larger grand scheme of this, right? Mm-hmm. But she also was still female. Mm-hmm. Then the male comes in and dominates everything. And then for a while, we remove, because remember, he puts her back in the thing and tosses her upon the universe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, lest we forget that part happened.
Yeah.
So you come in, you dominate, you control, and then you boot her out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but yeah. I mean, but I for me personally, it was just, and I hate to say this, but at that point, it was Rita's time to go.
And I'm not denying it, right? Because we saw a huge change in villainy. We saw a huge change in monsters. We saw a huge change in efforts, right? There were more efforts being put into trying to figure things out. And so I get it from a progressive and a storytelling standpoint, right? I don't negate that. And yes, he was far scarier to look at than she was. Again, because like I said, she was more of the humanistic embodiment of what we consider to be evil or what we consider to not be in this vein. But then we got to talk about Zordon and his evil antics because while he gets portrayed in a positive light, he wasn't the best person in, you know, when he had a body, he wasn't the best person either.
He was a total shit show. And to see him and I understood why he was stuck in a hyperbolic time chamber the way he was. And I was like, bro, I don't sympathize with you because look at what you did.
Exactly.
Like what you did was not cool. And it was just, you know, we understand like you had like what really kind of made me side eye Zordon was when the White Ranger was introduced and they were like everything was so secretive and I was just like, bro, you just couldn't say I'm creating a new like who are you going to like
they just looked at him like a father like,
and you just abandoned us. You abandoned us.
Well, see, what got it for me was when you think about like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie and Ivan Ooze said, oh, Zordon is still using kids to do his dirty work. So that means you have been doing this for centuries at this point, right? Like that was the part that really blew my mind. Like, yo, and then that's when he said, "Oh, well, meet my kids," right? And he spits up the loogie, and then the Tango Warriors come. But it was just like, yo, like you've been doing this for eons, stealing people's kids.
Like you have been like fighting, and it even explored that in the 2017 movie because Rita says to Zordon, "We fought this war." For you. We didn't fight this war because you act like you snatched us up and was like, hey, come help me. I can give you these powers. Like, and that's how it always like he wasn't that good of
there was definitely some manipulation. And I think you can see more of it in the 2017 movie where it's just like he's so quick just to be like so dismissive of them. Like they're teenagers and you're trying to get them to like they're struggling to morph the entire time. Like you're not telling him how to do this. Like
you're not helping us at all.
Right. And let's talk about that part too.
It also shows like
he very rarely helped them. They had to usually figure it out. And it was just like, oh, this doesn't work. Go out there and face the problem. You know, just like we'll send you out there. You figure I'll give you the tools. I won't tell you how to use the tools. No. But you figure it out.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that.
You got this.
Like, they're gonna tell you. He's gonna tell you like mid battle. Hey, use this new trick real quick and see what happens.
Yeah, they were able to do it because let's we not start talking about Tour the Shuttle Zord or you know the other things. It's like, oh, now you want to introduce all of these other components that we could have used all along.
Right. Like, and we understand that it was totally product placement, and you know, they had to throw it in there because it was Super Sentai filler, and because like the whole Toro Zord was actually a human that when he got it, like that was crazy. Yeah. So to see, and I mean, I'll even say to this day, Power Rangers is still doing that. Like they'll throw a random, and what I love to call a MacGuffin. They'll throw a random MacGuffin that randomly helps them for one episode, and you won't see it till like 7 episodes later. And you're like, when did y'all get this?
Yes.
Like Ninja. Oh my God, Ninja was a prime example of that.
What was the prime example? What?
Ninja. How like they just threw Ninja in on this whole journey onto the thing, and just like, wait a minute, where did you come from? What is your purpose? What is your role? And then he was there. And then it just came, and then you never hear from him again, right? But it's all of these kind of random placements of those things across the multiverse. And then when you see the backstory, and you realize how it's all interconnected in the long run. But at that time, at my like 8-year-old self, it's like, well, what the hell is this?
You didn't understand this because I mean, and even going into the Ivan Ooze movie when they went and got the ninja powers, like this woman who gives us these powers and then we never know who, like, anything about. And she's like, "Oh,
who is she? How did
like, who are you?
What?
How do you know?" And then you give us Ninja in the show, and we're like, "Why we can get this chick?"
And lest we not forget again,
right?
She's been guarding this stuff for eons.
For eons!
Right? He has been waiting for you. Like,
but my problem, I think one of my problems was, if I remember correctly, is when they did the movie and they started to incorporate the powers of the game in the movie. It didn't, like, how they got. Oh yes, Dulcia. How they got the powers of the movie doesn't match up to how they got the powers in the show. Like,
not at all.
No, it didn't mesh with the movie somehow. Like I never understood that. Like I don't know.
But did any of it really match though? Because even like,
sorry.
Oh no, I was just like, did any of it really match? Because even in the show, like, right, they started with dinosaurs, and then the Thunderswords came, and then they were supposed to be better and stronger, but they were there the entire time, right? And so it's just like, so.
You gonna start at the bottom for real?
You were prepared. No, so it's like, so you were prepared for these to be defeated because you already had an extra layer of something that was stronger and faster and did these things. But we couldn't get there. We had to wait for these things to fail.
Right.
To continue to move on to these next levels.
That's the problem with them trying to string all those series together into one continuous story instead of just being like one story a year like Japan did. So they were trying to keep the same group together for 5 seasons. Like in Japan, it's like, y'all got 50 episodes. Tell that story however you can, but wrap it up by 50 episodes.
They eventually caught on.
They did
caught on and started doing that for like the later seasons after Rangers in Space.
After Lost Galaxy.
Lost Galaxy.
And can we talk about how those two were so incongruent?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but you also have to remember, In Space was the last of the what people like to the Zordon
arc.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, it had to go into, we have to, we have this mentor, we have this leader who can help us, who can guide us, who also puts us into this shit at the same time, and does not give us anything. But one of the things that I fondly, and it literally came in because it was something that DJ said, and what people don't know is that the White Ranger is not technically a part of the MMR universe.
Come on.
He's a completely different Ranger from another Sentai that they brought over. Because I want to say what I learned was, Saban and them had got the rights to the suits finally. And the white suit was one of the suits that they brought us. So they said, it was like, and that's how, JDF came back and everything. So it just showed you, like Jermaine said, that they took so much and just kept beating it with a stick, that it got super watered down very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it got super watered down very fast though.
They did that
at some point. Like they couldn't keep going with the same group, or at least that same portion of the universe, because that was a universe within itself. Those first several seasons. All right, so. Okay, before we go into my next thing, because we got 30 more minutes left. All right, so if you don't know anything about the behind the scenes with the American Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there was lots of issues of mistreatment, poor wages, long hours. 3 of them were trying to unionize, which is why we have the original red, black, and yellow being replaced by the new red, black, and yellow. So we have Jason, Zach, and Trini leave. And then we have Rocky, Adam, and Aisha come in their place. And so we see Rocky, Adam, and Aisha in the movie portion. They get the benefit of being in the movie. Both movies, right?
They do, but they get the benefit of also starting their story on the series. Right, and how it was the whole martial arts tournament, and we didn't know who they were, and they were going back and Newport, then they lived in the other town over.
Stone
and,
Canyon.
all those things, so it was just this whole kind of, kind of like the whole rivalry coming to pass, like it was destined to happen, right? We get that kind of narrative from them. But then the irony of it all is we still get somebody of color, and they're still a ranger of color.
Two rangers of color.
Yeah, technically two rangers because it was
all
a
3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you are correct.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, and I might get much shade for this, and I've gotten much shade from my friends, but I actually preferred Rocky, Adam, and Aisha over Jason, Trini, and Zach. And I will defend myself and say why.
Go ahead.
I will defend myself and say why.
Go ahead.
With Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, they brought something different. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I'm sorry. I gotta throw this up there real quick. I'm sorry. All right, where is it? Oh, I don't have any more. There we go.
and I'll say why. Okay, so with Zach, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, they were not the typical stereotypes that the show originally gave us. Aisha was not into dancing. She was just a girl. She was just a full-on girl who liked to kick butt. Rocky and Adam were the same way. They didn't play stereotypical roles. And I believe that's why Johnny Young Bosch has lasted as long as and has the relevance in the MMR that he has, because he came in and it was like, look, I knew what I was coming into when I came into this series. Like, I wasn't going to play a stereotype. I was going to be myself. I was going to be authentic and go from there. And that's why I love them so much, because they brought to me something different. And I just thought Aisha was a bad bitch when she stepped on the scene. It was everything.
And that's what I was getting at, right? That they did.
God said, look.
And that's what I was getting at, right? They absolutely did bring something different. But what I appreciated about them is they came as a unit. Every time we saw them, they were a collective unit.
They were together.
We knew that they knew each other. We knew that they hung out together. We knew that they had similar interests. You never saw Rocky, Adam, and Aisha without the other. And they always were portrayed as a collective unit. And that was important to the team dynamics, because as we look at those seasons and they come closer, it's their collectivism and their uniformity that helps to bring the team forward, right? Because they operate as a team already.
Yes. I like that. Okay, so original 3, new 3. Julian, Jermaine, what do you think?
Original 3, new 3. Ooh, this is hard. This is hard only because I think that the original 3, they should have gotten their due. You know what I mean? That for sure. But I do enjoy the new 3.
Absolutely.
I loved Adam. I loved it.
He was fine. He was fine.
I was like, yes, make him a frog, bitch. I loved frogs at least for like years. And because of the role he played, and no. So it's like I have to give it to them. So like the new 3, I kind of really do love, but the original 3, I really think that they should have gotten what they should have gotten. That for sure.
All I'm gonna say is let's not forget that lest we not forget that the Red Dragon was able to be its own individual Zord and kick ass on its own. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right, Jermaine, what are you thinking?
I think he's just frozen over there.
I think he's just frozen. He's just like.
We think he's offensive.
Okay. All right. So with the introduction of the new 3 of Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, we see them in the movies, and so I love with all my heart the first movie. I will sit and watch that first.
When you say the first movie, which movie are you speaking of?
The first Mighty Morphin Power.
Because lest we forget, there actually were 2 films.
Yeah. There's the Mighty Morphin, and then there's Turbo.
And then there's Turbo.
No. There's actually another MMPR film that didn't get as high publicity ratings. So that's why I'm like, when we say the original, we have to specify which film we're actually speaking of.
The one. So
now, if we're talking about the one with Ivan Ooze. Okay.
Yeah, Ivan Ooze.
There is another MMPR movie.
Where's that? So I can find it.
Right.
It's really like a Rita Lord Zedd kind of epic saga type of thing. But that does exist. And so it wasn't in the same vein. But it does exist.
Are you referring to the because DJ, I think I might know what you're talking about. Are you referring to when they had them travel back in time and they created the other Green Ranger? And are you referring to that?
So they kind of touched on that in TV and a little bit, but yeah, that kind of cross references into the film too. But it kind of was one of those things where, to your point, like if you didn't know the Rita backstory and you didn't know the Zedd backstory, this kind of filled in those gaps. But it wasn't a major motion picture production, so it didn't get the kind of same vein that we see when we think about the whole, Power Rangers movie, and not even talking about Turbo, because that was a whole
shit show. Shit show.
Look, like I remember seeing that one thing. Like, this is nowhere near as good as the first one, or at least the first motion, like the first one that was in theaters. And so, so in that. What year was that one? Oh my goodness, that was what, 95? 94?
4, 5, 6, something like that. 5 maybe.
Yeah. So that one, so we see them getting the ninja powers. We see Dulcia. We'll see,
Ivan Ooze.
Ivan Ooze.
And we see them saving Zordon as literally.
Yes.
Literally
saving his ass.
Literally save his ass.
Right.
About damn time.
But can I tell you though, I lived when they destroyed the command center in a film.
Oh, baby, that was the best part of the movie.
It was so long overdue.
Damage.
Yeah.
But it was so overdue because y'all knew he'd been sitting on this damn hill for eons.
Not for eons.
The first time anybody came after him.
Right. And what killed me is I will never forget the line he says. He says, "And now the piper has come to pay his dues." Baby started playing that whistle. Damn. And Paul Alpha is just like,
right.
But I love that too, though, because it really showed in that whole dynamic that Alpha was really the brains behind the whole process. Mm-hmm. And we don't give him his due
I have a
credit.
question.
He never got his due credit. I love Alpha.
I have a question for you two, because I can't remember. What was the name of the girl that replaced Zordon in Turbo?
Oh my god! Don't tell me. Because she was from the Question Planet. Oh Jesus, it is on the tip of my tongue. Because the rumor was that was supposed to be Diva Tox's twin sister.
Yeah.
It was
I'm gonna get it. Hold on, it's coming.
It's something like Equestria or
oh my gosh,
Equestria.
I know that's like a My Little Pony, but like I want to say Equestria. Oh my god.
Not Demetria.
It was Demetria. It was Demetria.
Yes,
it was Demetria. It was Demetria.
Diva Tox and Demetria.
Yeah, it's Demetria.
Okay. I just remember that she had Alpha 6, and I was not a fan of Alpha 6.
Oh, Alpha 6 was trash.
He was.
It's your Alpha 6.
With his Brooklyn accent.
But again, that goes back to my point about how he'd been doing this for eons, right? Because that was Alpha 5. Mm-hmm. We don't know nothing about the first 4. But we know Alpha 5.
But you know what? I will say this. Alpha did get his dues in a later season. And he got his dues in Operation Overdrive. Mm-hmm. When they brought Overdrive. Yeah. He got his dues in Operation because Adam was the one who brought him out of retirement. He was like, I got somebody that can help us. And he went and got Alpha 5. And Alpha 5 was the one who fixed the morphin grid because they had severed their tie from the morphin grid. So Alpha was the one. He got his dudes finally. It took him 1,000 forever episodes, but he.
But my point being the same. He was the only one who was substantial, really,
right?
Like the whole thing. He would notify them that things are going on. He would be the person to have to send them weapons and Zord and all that. Like Zordon was just like, send it, tell them, call them, get them. Right. Alpha had to do all of the work.
That's why I thought it was really funny that I was like, if they really ever, because I know it was one episode where they did snatch Alpha, and it was just all confusion. It was confusion.
And then remember when he went on a search for his origin story, and he had to go back to his home planet to get the thing, get the disc. Like, oh my god.
Okay. So
my question is, how did Adam find him in Operation Overdrive? Like, wasn't Alpha like way out in space somewhere?
No. So what happened was they had a backup body and they went back to Angel Grove. Like, if you go watch that episode of Operation Overdrive, it was in a storage unit, and Alpha 5 was in this big box. And Adam went in there.
Finding Alpha 5 in storage.
He was in a huge box.
He was in a storage unit.
He was in a storage unit.
Powered down, and they booted him back up.
Plug him in nothing.
It was a very interesting, crazy. I want to say that was 20th reunion. I want to say that was 20th.
God,
yeah.
But,
oh my goodness.
It happened.
Yeah.
But Rick,
I have one issue with him. It's the I.
Oh my god!
Something about this seems really Mexican. It's very caricature.
But that was the iconic catchphrase of the MMR. Like, when he said, "It's about shit's about to hit the fan."
It was gonna get real.
It's gonna get hectic, y'all. Buckle up, because he's having a meltdown. All right, so I brought up the movies, and I said MMPR movies because even though the 2017 one is not titled Mighty Morphin, it still falls within that origin story of the Mighty Morphin era. Thoughts? I know we talked about it briefly, but like it was a weird thing where, and it's a problem with a lot of these movies that are kind of like reboots or reimaginings of our childhood, where they're banking on nostalgia to help them do well in the box office, but it doesn't always play out that way. But like, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed the 2017 movie.
It was so good.
I think it took too long to get to the actual morphing and get to like the big, like them like feeling like a team. It just, but like it could have had a sequel. I really think it could have had a sequel.
Well, they weren't working on a sequel, but it got
could have had a sequel.
It got cut very quickly because that post credit scene where they're in the detention again and you hear them saying Tommy Oliver, baby, when they say Tommy, baby, because
you heard that?
I think Taymon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we saw that together. When we heard Tommy Oliver, me and Taymon started screaming in that movie because we were like, "Come on now!" Like, and then it was rumored that they were going to make Tommy a girl, which really had the fandom really going crazy and amped about seeing that movie. And then it failed. It failed.
And, sometimes the fandom can be its own worst enemy. Because I think they didn't give it a chance to let them tell the story, because I really truly believe like if they had a sequel, they would have been able to flesh out a lot more stuff and gotten to the meat of things quicker.
But I don't know if they would have, because like even when you think about how long it took to, like, I lived for this version of Rita, right? I'm not gonna lie, I lived for that version of Rita. Yes. But like even in the long term of getting Goldar Monster and doing all of these things, like it was an entire struggle bus just to get to the point of what we needed to happen to get to this apex of what we knew we were expecting right from this film. I appreciated the darkness, I appreciated the rawness, I appreciated the rigidity, but I don't know if the sequel would have taken a more jump started approach to that, because then you got to think about, okay, so now we're going to introduce this other character. Those of us who are a part of the multiverse and fandoms, we already know. So what are you going to do to develop this backstory? And how much of the film are you going to take to develop the backstory before we get to where we need to be? Or are we just going to jump right into, you got it, this is the powers, now we got to try to save you?
Because within like an hour
that would have
and
been a total disappointment.
40-minute movie, like it took them like an hour and 20 minutes just to get to that point.
Well, from what I read, because I did a lot of research on it, there was actually supposed to be 3 movies. There were supposed to be 3 movies that they had signed on to do. The first one was to tell their backstory. The second one, because the ending of the second one was supposed to take us into the Dark Green Ranger saga, and then the third one would wrap everything all up together to where they're finally a team together. But again, it fell on deaf ear because there were so many issues with the first one, all the product placement, all of the just stuff that did not need to be in the movie that was there. It was just so much that you're like, okay, we could have cut this.
And was this movie 3D?
No, I don't think it was
3D era. No,
you were able to see it in 3D.
Yeah, you were able to see it in 3D,
but I don't think
it promoted as 3D.
There.
But like I said, I mean, there were so many blunders with that movie that it just kind of failed. And but I will say, and like we were talking about earlier, the grittiness of it all, it really took it to a higher level because us as the nostalgic crew, when I saw Billy die, I legit teared up. I was like, what?
I was just crying earlier today when I watched it before.
I was like,
bawling my eyes out.
And and it was so because and I love how in the movie that they touched on the light humor of the show, like when they all fell in the water and they started glowing, and Billy says, "Don't you say that? We know who you are." It was just like it was like, we get it now. And I love, and that's why I said I really wish that they would have kept going, and because I think the second one would have done a lot of better storytelling if they would have gotten the right people to write it. They needed some better writers.
Yeah, they needed a few better writers, and then a few better actors as well. Because honestly, RJ? Sorry, RJ. He shined, but like some of the other, maybe it was the writing. Actually, maybe it was just the writing. But
yeah, because
some of these other characters are bored.
Julie, and to be honest with you, I didn't too much care for the guy who played Zach. I did not really care for him.
I didn't care for him either.
He was so boring. He was very boring to me.
But I loved his storyline.
His storyline was fabulous.
Some of that so much better.
But it was so boring. Like it was just like, okay.
And Kimberly, I didn't like Kimberly. I thought Kimberly was like, she was too much. Kimberly was too much.
It was honestly, it was giving very much Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it gave. It gave Breakfast Club.
It's funny.
It did.
I think half of my issue with the 2017 series or movie. Oh yeah.
What were you saying, Jermaine?
Really? I was just going to say that I feel like they were too shy. Like they were scared to be too close to Power Rangers as we know it. So they have the Rangers name, but the suits sort of look like the suits, but not really. They have power coins, but we don't really see their morphers. And they don't really have morphers, but they just transform, whatever. And they have Zords, but you don't really get to see them that much.
Right.
You just know that they're giant animalistic robot things. And then they have the Megazord, but you don't really see how it fits together.
Yeah, at all.
How they transform.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems they had was that they decided to try to do it like a movie. I think now it would really do much better as a series. Something that we can, a series that's not the way that they did it.
I agree with you, Julie.
I think they were trying to be as un-Power Rangers while also being Power Rangers.
Yeah, and that's where they failed.
But I mean, I agree with Julian. I think if they would have taken the series approach, especially because now we're in an era of streaming and we want everything to be able to stretch out as best you can, it may have been a lot more successful.
We wanted to stretch out also because I feel like it's funny because I feel like we're moving toward a little bit more towards like what a book would be. You know what I mean? When we read a book, we sit down and read a book usually for like days at a time. You know what I mean? It's a long process, you know, because you get the whole plot unveiling, but like in visual format cinema, it's been very much more condensed, you know.
It's not
allows you to do more.
It's not inducive to like be able to marinate on a story. That's the thing. You can't really marinate on the stories in these.
But I guess I think that's also where the contrast between it as a graphic novel and this multiverse as what we know it to be don't always relate, right? Because the graphic novel gets down and dirty. And it takes you places and it takes you on journeys that we won't see in film and we won't see on TV because those stories we don't want to see.
That's one of the advantages of the rebooted series is that it can play out much more like the comic books do, the recent comic books from Boom Studios, which are all fantastic.
They are phenomenal. They are amazing.
The entire game.
All right, so we're gonna go into a quick commercial break, and I have one more question for her before we wrap things up. Okay.
Every part of this movie, and most of the parts of the movie. Don't worry.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I loved Rita. I loved Rita's origin story in the movie. Like I was a ranger.
Was good too.
Yeah, like I was.
I would prefer her comic book one in live action.
But the fact that she was a ranger and we know that, it makes sense when you think about the Green Ranger's origin story in the series, right? It totally makes sense in how those things connect and why she was so pissed.
All right, so go ahead, Steven.
No, and this will be totally my last thing. And I will say the one thing that I would say that killed the 2017 and the original movie, the freaking CGI. The CGI, oh my God. Let's take it back to the Zords of the 1995. Horrible. And then the CGI of the 2017, horrible. Like
at the time, it was pretty impressive. Like the Zords looked so much shinier than they did on TV.
Child, somebody took some turbo shine and went to work. Alpha was
yeah, they did though. They did. It was very turbo. But I feel like the concept art was probably really, really nice. But like the translation that we got was a little
somebody was just like, let's make them super shiny.
Yeah, make everything shiny.
All right, quick commercial break, y'all. We'll be right back.
All right.
Shout out to Tamon Kane and TK Publishing. We miss you.
Hi, Tamon in the comments.
Right, thank you. One last, it's Morphin Time because my drink is almost done.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay.
I have a little bit more than that.
I can get more. We got 5 minutes left.
We don't.
Okay, quick. What was your question? Because I got a question too.
Okay. Well, what's your question? Go ahead, say it.
Oh, mine is a little bit involved, but of all the seasons of Power Rangers, which one has your favorite opening credits song?
Oh, can I go first? Can I go first?
I missed it. It was kind of choppy. I missed the question.
Your favorite opening scene from all the seasons.
Okay.
Ninja Storm. Go Power Rangers, go Ninja Storm. Let's go! Like that song was a bomb. That was a bomb. And that is probably my second favorite season.
Can I tell you though, like mine is still Go Go Power Rangers, and like that's my ringtone for my text messages. So when my phone goes off and it does that with the communicator beat, and people are like, "Oh, it's Kim Possible," I'm like, "No, it's the Power Rangers communicator. They were first." Like they're so rude. But my ringtone is actually Go Go Power Rangers without the lyrics. And so it's like when it gets to that like that is so me.
That's
It's so gets me
iconic.
so hyped.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
It is iconic.
I agree. Okay, I agree with that. Mine is also Go Go Power Rangers. But what I will say, because we're talking about like the sounds, I guess the 2017 soundtrack was also killer. Stop. All right. I will say, I was watching this movie and I'm like listening and stuff, and I'm like, okay, every other like scene is like a bop. I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. Like they had the Tron feels and the whole nine. I was here for it. It was good. But mine is definitely original. Go Go Power Rangers. I love that shit.
Like I can't decide. Like I think like I love the nostalgia of the original theme song, but like I've dabbled in all the other seasons at some point because I have a 6-year-old boy. So like I've seen the things, but like and some of them have bops, some of them have some bops, but
Mystic Storm was a bop too. Mystic Storm was
Mystic
a bop too.
Mystic Storm was a bop. I cannot deny that. It totally was a bop.
It was a bop.
And Samurai had some good hits too.
They did. They had some good stuff. All right. My question is, why was the Green Ranger the baddest bitch of all time? Okay, go ahead.
Because who else do you know that starts on the whole other side of the polar spectrum, comes in to join the team, essentially gets to take over the team? He has the only Zord that could stand alone to fuck shit up.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that could do that. And lest we forget, his dagger was the most sought after weapon upon the power grid because everybody wanted.
Yes.
Because everybody wanted control of the Dragon Sword.
His shining moment. That's the only thing for me.
And the fact that him alone, Tommy,
and must we not forget,
could give all 5 of them the
remember
business.
he went into the Megazord and fucked shit up.
And threw them all out of the Megazord. And threw them all out of the baby.
Tell me the Green Ranger was the baddest bitch.
But we not, but okay, DJ, we not gonna shade Saba. Saba was that sword.
We're not gonna shade Saba, but we can't forget though, he also was the only Ranger that, remember when him and Jason had to go up the mountain and Jason had to take the shield. You ain't never seen another Ranger take another Ranger power.
You ain't
to be
never
able to complete a mission.
Right.
That never happened.
The series has so many iconic moments that you just have to just be like, oh my God. But I mean, Tommy Green Ranger, that whole arc was, because I will never forget, my favorite part of it is when Kimberly and him were working out, and baby, he leaned and he said, "That's okay, Pink Ranger." Baby, I went, what?
Done. A whole 5-episode arc.
And you
whole 5 episodes, 2 by himself.
And you telling me you knew who we were the entire time, my guy?
And like I said, lest we forget, Dragon Zord was just chilling under the waters of Ancient Grove
forever.
Just waiting to come out.
For eons. Everything's for eons.
Forever.
Honestly, that should have been the drink word, eons.
But you know, DJ, I have a question, DJ. Who would win Zord wise? The Tiger Zord or Dragon Zord? That was about how power the rest of the
my thing would be no. I actually think it would be the Tiger Zord.
It's not hard. Dragon Zord.
No, it would be the Tiger Zord. And I'm gonna tell you why it would be the Tiger Zord. Because much like the Red Dragon, Tiger Zord can morph into its own fully function. Now we know Dragon Zord had the capacity to do that, but Tiger Zord had the capacity to stand alone and fuck shit up. And it was much faster than Dragon Zord.
Too.
Yeah. The Dragon Zord was so slow.
But the Tiger Zord was much faster than Dragon Zord. And he had a fucking sword. Like the only other Zord that we saw that had a Zord was Megazord
form, sure. But he couldn't shoot missiles from his anything. Okay.
I mean,
he shot
super
a fireball from his
out his mouth,
out his chest.
Said
Come
that.
on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I really think it would
But
be
he had to
Tiger
get the
Zord.
Otama balls to do it.
I agree with Tiger Zord. Tiger Zord was pretty solid.
I think,
but I really think it would have been Tiger Zord because, and it was a whole different level of energy. Like Tiger Zord took all that shit in before it thrust it out. You know, like Dragon Zord was just shooting this shit out.
Lord of mercy. All right, y'all. So this we're going to have to end it right here. You know, thank y'all. Thank you to our guests, Steven and DJ, for joining us tonight. This was a great conversation. And for a very beloved franchise. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys being here. So of course, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those things. Make sure you follow us on Anchor. If you've missed some episodes and you like listening to them on podcast, make sure you listen to us on Anchor. All of our episodes are uploaded on YouTube, all that fun stuff. And I think we got like another couple episodes before we take a break for the summer.
Two more episodes go down for our break.
And then the season's over.
Vacation's coming, y'all.
So we'll take the summer off to, catch up on all the content we're going to watch. Yes.
What will it be? What will it
be? So what's
we don't
next
know.
What's next week's episode?
We don't know. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think there's a set plan just yet. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The twist is coming. We don't know.
Things happen.
The reboot.
Which one?
We'll figure it out. You'll see a post at some point.
No, Matt stuff is happening though. Matt
all right, I'm super excited, but I got to go because my husband's gonna leave me and I'm starving. All this wine.
Oh no! All right. So thank y'all for watching tonight. We're about to go. So we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for visiting, y'all.
Yes, thank you. We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.